Thank you for being a part of this webinar by Gage Technologies on the importance of understanding the RAY BAUM'S Act and what it means to not only be compliant, but also integrate different components for improved emergency response that maybe you just might not have considered, and how that will allow you to provide even greater support in response to your employees, your customers, or guests that are on your premises, wherever they may be located, for a more effective 911 response. My guest today is Mark Fletcher with 911 Inform. I'll let him introduce himself and the organization he represents. We'll get back and have a brief series of questions that should give us a much better sense of what steps we might need to take advantage of some of these ideas that Fletch will be sharing with us. So Fletch, if you could, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks very much, Rick. I appreciate it. Thanks to Gage Technologies for letting us do this webinar here today. Very important topic. So I'm Mark Fletcher, known as Fletch, and I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. I'm also the author of Kari's Law that started all this recent 911 compliance issues.
So Fletch, if you could answer the question, what does it mean and what does the RAY BAUM'S Act mean to us as enterprise responsible parties for 911?
Well, that's a great question because it's actually a very complex one, but I'll try to keep the answer kind of short here, Rick.
Okay.
RAY BAUM'S Act is a specific set of rules around MLTS compliance, but it really falls back to the starting law of Kari's Law, which was the initial law that was passed. Kari's Law requires direct access to 911 and on-site notification, and the RAY BAUM'S Act was a second set of rules that came into play that requires that on-site notification be extended out to public safety, but also to provide what's known as a dispatchable location, both to internal responders on that on-site notification and to the public safety agency that's going to be responding. Now, a lot of people talk of them as separate issues, but they're really codified or made legislation under what's known as US Code of Federal Regulations, Title 47, Subpart 9. So obviously, RAY BAUM'S Act, Kari's Law, they're a little more sexy names, but it's actually legislated under US Code of Federal Regulations. And that's what gives it its penalties and teeth.
So Fletch, you talk about this US Code Title 47. I've never heard of that, and maybe others on this webinar may not have either. And how do they know then if they're compliant with the RAY BAUM'S Act if we have to go back to that Title 47 and make sure we adhere to those requirements?
Well, yeah, so there's various titles in the US Code of Federal Regulations, and these are federal laws. Now, the telecommunications stuff that applies to this particular area that we're talking about are covered under Title 47, and it's pretty wide in what it covers. You know, there are several titles that go all the way back to what carriers can do, how things are tariffed, and Title 47 is the one that deals with MLTS 911 compliance. There is really no one out inspecting based on this. However, what you will find are fire marshals, you'll find building inspectors that are starting to check on these legislation requirements. And that's coming about from the education and awareness that companies like myself and others are putting out into the marketplace. Certainly when you have a violation and a lawsuit, that's when they usually come out. But right now, especially with a new requirement like this, a lot of people don't know about this, and it's an awareness issue as much as a compliance one.
Interesting. Well, let me ask you, could you take some time and walk us through some different scenarios and how this technology and application could be integrated into the enterprise?
Let's take a look at the following use case. In this example, an emergency event is triggered at a room 306, where a student's been injured. A call to 911 is placed, and school administration is notified of the event, and both are presented with this single pane of glass dashboard view, and they respond to the room. It's determined to be an allergic reaction with the student, and the student is moved to the nurse's office. When staff updates the location, Any internal or external responder with access to the single pane of glass display immediately sees the updated information. The responding staff can now be proactive and take control of the building through IoT integration, being able to view cameras or unlock doors, which speeds access and allows anyone to manage the event. The 911 Inform single pane of glass capability allows our platform to expand with nearly any technology using open web APIs. Based on individual use cases from customers and specific technology, custom integrations are typically a snap. For example, here, during the installation, 360-degree room views were captured and added to the system's resource database. Now, when an incident occurs, anyone responding has full situational awareness of the room prior to entering. Safe areas, doors, windows, as well as access to adjoining rooms all helps facilitate a safer, more informed response, which is essential in an emergency when seconds count.
So yeah, there you go, Rick. There's a couple of examples where 911 compliance in that core module can expand out into geofences and overall safety from any device, including cell phones, as well as provide input and event correlation from IoT devices for a total emergency management solution.
Yeah, that's just amazing, Flesh. And I want to thank you for taking time to share these insights and also the possibilities of how we can leverage 911 Inform. I would ask those who have been watching the webinar, if you're interested in gaining access to the checklist on whether you're compliant to the items that Fletch was talking about, go ahead and reach out to me via the email that's already demonstrated and shown on the webinar, or feel free to reach out to me directly, Rick Garza at Gage Technologies, 210-854-7117. Flesh, thanks again. And for my audience, thanks and have a wonderful day.
Thanks very much, Rick. And again, thanks to Gage Technologies for raising the awareness on these issues. You know, it's really kind of a grassroots effort, and it takes people like what you're doing and what Gage is doing to make sure people are aware, to ensure the safety of students, staff, and your customers in buildings.
Thanks again. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Take care.